Okay, so this is a new topic for older subscribers, that being Danganronpa characters. I got into this series not too long ago with my girlfriend. She's a big fan of the streamer Lucajin, who, if you don't know, plays a lot of games, has a lot of wholesome and possibly very perverted shenanigans go on. Check her out, she's great. And yeah, it didn't take me long to get on board with the whole idea of Battle Royale meets Phoenix Wright in a classroom. I really grew to like all of the characters and the weird shenanigans, crazy plot twists, and gruesome deaths that they all got involved in. So here's another tier maker video where I rank my favorite characters from the main 3 games. I'm not going to be talking about the side game or the anime for this one. Also, this goes without saying, given that this is a series about victims and murderers, but there is going to be a ton of spoilers for this and potentially some sensitive content. So we're starting this off with the protagonist of Danganronpa 1, Makoto. He's kind of supposed to be the average high school student, nothing really special about him, and he grows to be this ultimate hope by the end. Compared to some of the later protagonists, I just don't think there's really that much interesting about him. He's just kind of average, kind of nice guy, inoffensive. I'm gonna put him in C. So this leads us to the mascot character of the series, if you will, Monokuma, and you gotta put him in S tier. I mean, just the whole concept of a murderous teddy bear, just something so innocent and cute being absolutely horrific and unsettling, and also kind of hilarious as well, is just such a brilliant idea. He's always chiming in with these gross, perverted remarks that are meant to just unsettle everybody. What a brilliant concept. The design is immediately iconic because you've got the white and the black, the faces being so distinct from one another. You gotta put him in S tier. Aoi, or Hina as she's most often known, I'm gonna put her in A tier. There are times where she can be kind of combative with some of the other main characters, but you can tell that it comes from a place where she really cares about her friends and what she believes in, and at the end of the day, she really means well, and you grow to like her by the end. Also, her friendship with Sakura is really sweet, so I think she belongs in A tier. Byakuya, oh boy. The first of what I like to call the little shit characters. And I'm putting him in S tier. Like, this is one of those characters who you just want to punch in the face, but he kind of starts to grow on you by the end because he actually starts to come around and say that, you know what, this isn't just a game. People are dying, like, I can't just be out for my own interests anymore. He's still a dick, but by the end of the game, you kind of come around and say, like, you're a dick, but I kind of love you. And, like, his banter with Toko is also pretty funny, so I'm putting him in S tier. Come on, it's Byakuya. Okay, Celeste. First of all, I love her design, although it, like, pretty much immediately gives away that she's going to be one of the killers in this game. Like, come on, she's got a claw on one of her fingers, she's dressed in black, she's got the pale face, you know she is up to no good. And when the time finally comes for her to be revealed as the killer in Chapter 3, like, it's kind of interesting because she doesn't really have much of a sympathetic motive. She just did it because she wants to escape and have vampire butlers. I think it's kind of refreshing that she's so honest about what she wants. Also, her breakdown during the trial is a lot of fun too, because her voice actress just knocks it out of the park, just her going increasingly mad and furious, and you love to see it. I'm gonna put her in B tier. Chihiro, just one of those characters who you really want to see more of over the course of the game, because he seems like such a sweetheart. Like, he's going through all these relatable issues about, like, his own place and identity. You just want to give this poor kid a hug, and even after his death and the tragedy around that, it's kind of nice to see him sort of be alive as alter ego. I would have liked to have seen a lot more of Chihiro, but for how much I like the character, I'm gonna put them in A. Hifumi. He's the stereotype. He's the fat, awkward geek that nobody really likes. He has maybe a few redeeming qualities, like, he does contribute to the investigation into his own death in the end. He does seem at least somewhat nice to alter ego, and he does manage to get a few laughs, like the infamous boob lust line, just... Okay, Hifumi. Okay. He's not very pleasant to look at. Again, he's a stereotype. There's not really too much to make him anything much more than that, so for that I'm gonna put him in D. Junko, the main antagonist of the series, another icon alongside Monokuma. I'm gonna be honest, in Danganronpa 1, when she kind of reveals herself as the true mastermind, I really wasn't on board. Her constantly switching between all these different personality types because she's bored, it just kind of seemed a bit random to me. By the end of her trial in the first game, she does kind of start slipping into a kind of neutral personality, where you kind of see the true her. Yeah, I wish we would have spent more time with that at the end of Danganronpa 1. So for that, I would put her in C, but then there's her role in Danganronpa 2, where I pretty much got exactly what I wanted. Here you actually get to see her more as this charismatic mastermind who's able to lead this whole cult of people, and I think she's a lot more intimidating here, because you just see her being just so much more straight with people, being a little less goofy and lol random. By the end of that trial in Danganronpa 2, she's actually close to breaking everyone again. I just thought she was a lot more interesting and enthralling in that game, so I would put her portrayal in Danganronpa 2 in S, but given that there's only one slot here, I'll balance it out with an A tier because she's the icon of the series, so she deserves at least that. Next up, we've got Kiyotaka, and this character is a lot of fun. Basically just this Boy Scout. This always morally upright defender of justice, even though he's really just a hall monitor in the end. I love his friendship with Mondo a lot, just all the jokes you can cram in about the palpable sexual tension between the two of them. Props to the translators for all of the innuendos. There's a lot of tragedy to his character too, because after Mondo is revealed to be Chihiro's killer and their friendship is destroyed, he is crushed because he really believed in his friend, and he still does. The whole Kyondo personality that he puts on later, it's funny to see him, like, trying so hard to be like his friend, but still not swearing as much as Mondo did. What prevents him from being any higher is the fact that he died so abruptly. Like, I would have loved to see this character go on to survive. He deserved it after all the trauma he went through. But yeah, for all of that, I'm gonna put him in A tier. I really like Taka. Okay, now we've got Kyoko, who, honestly, she's one of the most important characters in the first Danganronpa, but honestly, I wasn't really that into her. For starters, though, I really like her design, but apart from that, her personality was really hard to get a read on. Like, I guess you could say I'm not really a big fan of the stoic-type characters very much. She was very serious and driven towards her goals. I admit her feelings about her father and some of the things she was saying about him very much confused me, although I guess you could say family is like that. It's very complicated. I don't know, I wasn't really as, like, riveted by her as I thought I was going to be. I'll put her in B. Leon. What even was his personality? He was just there to be the first killer, show that the executions are brutal. There was really nothing to him. Like, I've legitimately got nothing to say about Leon. He's a nothing character. I am putting him in F. Okay, thank God, we've actually got someone I've got things to say about. Mondo. I kind of went into it a lot with my thoughts on Taka, but I love Mondo. This guy who's always trying to prove that he's a man. He's got a lot of insecurities about who he is, and it's kind of easy to relate to there, because it's like, you're trying to live up to the roles that society's expecting, like your brother, you want to be just like him. Like, his whole persona is just exuding this insecurity about that, like constantly swearing, getting into a dick measuring contest with Taka. And then just the circumstances of him being the murderer were insanely tragic. I like the idea that Mondo actually was looking up to Chihiro and how he thought that Chihiro was stronger than he ever could be. And so when his insecurities all boil over, you've got a really tragic villain on your hands. But yeah, I really, really liked Mondo. I'm gonna put him in A. Mukuro Ikusaba, the 16th student, lying hidden somewhere in Hope's Peak Academy. The one they call the ultimate despair. Should I watch out for her? Not really. I mean, she was also kind of a nothing character. I mean, at least compared to Leon, like, some of her interactions as Junko were kinda interesting. Her, of course, being so integral to the lore and backstory of the first game do at least make her a little more interesting than Leon. Also, I haven't seen a lot of the anime or supplemental materials, but again, there's really nothing to Mukuro in the first game. I'm gonna put her in D. Sakura. My queen. She is going straight into S tier. I love her design because it's like, obviously she's got a very masculine build, but there are so many moments where you just see, like, the gentle, feminine side that she has as well. Like, she really cares about her friends, and especially about doing the right thing, even when Monokuma's pretty much blackmailed her. Her death and her friendship with Hina were also really heartbreaking. Just... Sayaka. So... yeah, she's just kind of there to get across the idea that, can you really trust anyone? Ooh, she's the first one to die, despite the fact that she was, like, the one you grew closest to. Even your close friends will betray you, because they're in it for themselves. Yeah, D tier. Toko's going into S tier. Regardless of what personality she's in, Toko or Genocide Jack, she is so much fun. Toko herself is a bit one-note in the first Danganronpa, but she just has a lot of laughs where she's just so comically insecure about things, and then she's making comments about people's sex lives and sextracurricular activities, as she puts it. How can you not chuckle, at least, with Toko? And then Genocide Jack, just that laugh. Props to Aaron Fitzgerald for just making such a delightfully bananas character. And I just love the idea that despite her literally being a serial killer, she literally has no part to play in any of this. She doesn't kill anybody in the killing game. It's just such a fun twist on what you might expect from this sort of game, and all the while, they're a lot of fun to watch, so they've got to be in S tier. Toko, Genocide Jack, both S. Yasuhiro. Fuck you, buddy. I mean, for one, he's rude to Sakura, which, don't be dissing on the queen like that. He's a fake psychic. His ultimate talent literally comes into play nowhere meaningful in the campaign. Him also getting progressively dumber over the game just really started to annoy me. Especially in Chapter 5, where everyone's kind of wondering, is Kyoko dead or alive? And he's like, oh no, it's her ghost! When she shows up again, and it's just like, just sit in the corner. You idiot. Nobody likes you. F tier. Okay, we're on to Danganronpa 2 right now, and we're starting off with my favorite main character out of them all, Hajime. I'm gonna put him right into S tier because this actually ended up being a really interesting main character. You kind of think it's going to be like the same thing as Makoto, where he's just kind of like the ordinary student with nothing special about him. And he is, and he isn't. He wanted so hard to be this important ultimate hope type that he pretty much sacrificed his whole personality just to be really good at everything. He ended up being kind of a monster for that. And I think that ties really well into the whole theme of this game of your past not necessarily defining you so long as you want to be a better person in the present. I think that's a really good moral to put out into the world. So for Hajime and his alter ego Izuru just illustrating that concept so eloquently, I'm putting him in S tier. Monomi, or Usami. This character had me confused the whole way through, because obviously you're kind of suspicious because she seems like she's filling in the Monokuma personality at first, and then, of course, Monokuma blows her up and then puts her in a diaper for some reason. She's a little bit suspicious over the course of the game. You see her house, she's got all these monitors and stuff, and it just makes you wonder, like, whose side are you on? Am I supposed to just find you really pathetic and laugh at you? In the end, she of course ends up being on the side of good, but just the whole time, I was just really what are you? I'm gonna put her in C. Okay, I really like Akane. I've heard some people kind of think she's a bit one-note, but I don't know, I kind of felt like there was quite a bit of development and some really good backstory there too that explains why she is the way she is. I like her spunky personality. You can't go wrong with that smile, okay? Like, she's actively making friends with everybody. She's got a really good connection with Nekomaru, who she really admires, and she's crushed when all this tragedy happens to him, and she just doesn't want to see that happen to anybody else. She becomes more serious and focused, a little bit less goofy over the course of the game. Then you learn about her backstory and how she had such a terrible past with her family and just the horrible implications of what must have happened while she was in ultimate despair. Like, good lord. I really like this character. I'm putting her an A. Byakuya Tugami, as he's called. So of course, we can't overlook the fact that he is very clearly the first one to die in this game. I mean, it kind of baits you into the fact that he's gonna be more important than he lets on because, I mean, you think he's Byakuya at first, but something's not quite right. I don't really know what, though. Okay, in all seriousness, I actually really like the idea that someone can be such a good imposter, mimicking their personality and appearance, that you're willing to overlook that there's something as different as him being morbidly obese. It kind of makes you wonder, like, how much his somewhat kinder personality is, like, him trying to mimic Byakuya's character development, or is just him just kind of being himself. There's a lot you can ask about this character, just a strange decision to include him at all. He didn't really amount to that much, but it's interesting at least. I'll put him in B. Chiaki. Best girl. S tier. She's adorable, she's friendly, she's got the pout, she's always active in helping you out in the investigations. And then, certain somebody had her killed. Because, I mean, come on, it's Chiaki. She's everybody's gamer girlfriend. She's gotta be an S tier. Fuyuhiko is another one that is going to go straight into S tier. Honestly, I think he probably has the best character development out of anybody in the game. Originally, Fuyu was supposed to die, but thankfully the producers decided to let him live because he'd been through so much at this point. His sister died, the love of his life died, he loses his eye, and he starts to have this whole crisis of his own morality, which again ties kind of nicely into the overall theme of this game and being a better person than who you used to be. I love his aggressive punk personality at first. Like, you can tell this guy's got issues that he seriously needs to work out. His relationship with Peko was tragic. I remember being so shocked when he ran right into the attack that Peko was enduring during her execution. Props to Derek Stephen Prince as well. This guy is pretty much just like high school Beelzemon from Digimon Tamers. Can you tell I'm a sucker for emotionally troubled people who go through a redemption arc? Gundham Tanaka. He is my favorite Danganronpa character. I'm putting him in S+. I love this wholesome friggin' edgelord. Like, the first time I saw him, and just him doing this, like, I am the Dark God Gundham Tanaka, and these are my devas of destruction. His cute little hamsters. You just look at this guy, and you think, oh, you are adorable. And he kind of is. Like, I love the moments where his whole Dark Lord persona kind of breaks up and you kind of see just the softer personality that lurks within. It's really cute. His relationship with Sonia was really sweet as well, and of course, his death. For a lot of people, Chiaki's death was the big one, but for me, it was Gundham, because this was my favorite character, and then finding out that he was the murderer broke me. It's like, why would you do this? Like, I know you're more than this, Gundham. You call yourself a Dark Lord, but, like, you actually killed somebody. And then you kind of learn more about what happened, and it broke me again, because he legit just wanted to save everybody's life. Him and Nekomaru, who kind of had, like, this mutual, let's get everyone out here, one of us has to sacrifice ourselves, or else everyone's gonna starve. Gundham basically telling everyone not to throw away their lives, kind of tying in with the whole theme of the future. Going up to animal heaven, just like, you pure soul. Just like, I just imagine Gundham meeting St. Peter at the pearly gates. He's just like, and you are? I am Gundham Tanaka! Oh, you are delightful. I will get you right into our breeding program straight away. Fear me, God!
for I shall breed the dark devas of angelic destruction! Ha 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 ha!
I mean, he might not be the best character, depending on who you ask, but just, I love him. He's an edgelord, but he's my edgelord. Hiyoko. So, a lot of people really hate her, and it's kind of justified, because she is just an awful little brat at first. She squishes bugs for fun, she's awful to Mikan. She's one of those characters who you really hate at first, but the more you look at her, there are kind of some layers to her. Like, her relationship with Mahiru is kind of nice, and her feeling just crushed after Mahiru's death. It just kind of shows that there is more to her than this awful little girl. She's someone who does have needs, insecurities. I don't think she's terrible. She at least had some layers to her. I'm gonna put her in C. Oh boy, Ibuki. I'm about to piss off so many people, holy crap. I mean, I get the appeal, like, she's upbeat, she puts everyone in a good mood, but I don't know, she always kind of blended into the background for me. She just kind of struck me as being weird for the sake of being weird, and she didn't really develop much over the course of the game, but she's got a fun design, I guess, and she does have a fan base for a reason. So, you know what? I'll put her in C. I'll be nice. Kazuichi. He's pretty much the Yasuhiro of this game, but less bad. He at least kinda does get some sympathy points from me for some of his pitiful attempts at simping for Sonya, but apart from that, kinda like my thoughts on Ibuki, he really didn't change or grow at all over the course of the game. He didn't strike me as all that interesting. For all of that, you know what? I'm gonna put him in D. I just didn't really care. Mahiru's another one that I'm very split about because she honestly struck me as really abrasive and mean for most of her time while she was alive. But there was at least the scene with her and Hiyoko. You can tell that she does at least have a good heart. She's very responsible. I don't know, she just kind of struck me as someone who was just there, and it didn't really surprise me when she ended up dying because she just seemed a little too generic for Danganronpa. I mean, I get that's kind of the appeal with some people for her, but there's at least something to her. I don't know, she didn't really vibe too well with me. I'll put her in C. Mikan. Oh boy, Mikan. Talk about wasted potential, because she's got a great design. There's the whole nervous wreck personality that you think would be really built on more than it did. And the payoff to the character just really was not great, in my opinion. Her being bullied by Hiyoko was barely touched upon, and it was played more so for laughs and fan service, which gross. I will say this, the whole remembering disease thing was at least interesting and kind of ominous foreshadowing for what we find out later. That disturbing, obsessive personality it reveals was interesting. Just, I have a lot of conflicting feelings about this character. There's a lot great about Mikan, but there's also a lot that just really does not work about her, in my opinion. So I think for that, I'm also gonna put her in C. Komeda. What a character. Like, Komeda always keeps you on the edge of your seat, because you just do not know what this insane motherfucker has planned. Immediately, you kind of notice that this guy is closer to Junko than anybody, except he purports that he's on the side of hope, but he is so hopeless. He's down all the time, always self-deprecating. He's really depressing to be around, and you just think, yeah, keep telling yourself you're into hope there, buddy. And then just all the shit he does to antagonize the party, him just becoming a total douchebag to Hajime once he learns who he really is. And then, what he did to Chiaki. Just, fuck you, man. But just for all of that, like, you love to hate this guy. He always keeps you guessing. That design with just the unsettling white, wispy hair. Just great character. I'm putting him in S tier. Nekomaru. What a fun character, am I right? He's a big guy with a big heart, the team player, and he's always yelling about how he needs to take a shit. I'm 5, you guys. I find that funny. There is more to his character, though, because, as I mentioned with Gundam, like, you can tell that he genuinely wants the best for everyone, which kind of ties into him being this team manager type. Yeah, he ends up saving everybody's life. I thought the thing about him being a robot was a little out of left field, but it made for a different investigation, I guess. I'm putting Nekomaru in A. It's Nekomaru. He's a good guy. Peko. Okay, so I know I've mentioned that I'm not really too big on the stoic types, but I really liked Peko as a deconstruction of that. She seems like she's got no real personality of her own. She's very serious and driven to whatever her goals are. And then you find out why that is, because she's in debt to Fuyuhiko's family and the Yakuza. She literally doesn't think she has any place having a personality because she's just Fuyuhiko's tool, which, as it turns out, she really isn't, because you start to see, like, her true desires and persona slipping through the cracks, and Fuyuhiko just bearing his soul to her, saying, "You're not just a tool to me." It's kind of heartbreaking stuff. But you also kind of see that she's a bit of a calculating fiend, too, because her whole gambit of trying to make everyone think she's insane, it pretty much worked. I'm gonna put her in B. Sonya. I was waiting for this whole game for some kind of shoe to drop regarding her character. There had to be something more to her, right? She's just kind of like the nice, kind of awkward foreigner, Starfire-like personality, and they didn't really do a lot with her. I think the most she does in the game is realize what's going on with Fuyuhiko and Peko's trial, and apart from that, she's just kind of like the stereotypical, nice, pretty princess type. Her relationship with Gundham was really nice, but I don't really have a lot to say about her, so unfortunately I'm gonna put her in C. A lot of people from Danganronpa 2 in C. Jeez. I do kind of have to wonder, like, what she must have done as an ultimate despair. I mean, as the ultimate princess, maybe she was some kind of fascist. Oh boy, Teru. This guy is such a creep and a pervert. He's got like the creepy eyes and the nosebleed. He does get a little bit of sympathy for the stuff with his mother at the end of his execution, but it's probably too little too late. Because this is just one of those characters who, you look at him, you see his actions, and he just kind of makes your skin crawl, especially with like some of the antics that poor Mikan goes through. I'm putting him in F. And that leads us to Danganronpa V3, the controversial one, the one with the ending that a lot of people really hated and a lot of people think was kinda interesting. I kinda count myself in the latter, personally, but I'm not really here to talk about that. We're gonna start with Kaede, the first protagonist of V3. I like her. I'm gonna put her in B. She's not really around to really get too much of a read on her personality, but I kinda like the humility that she expresses when she discovers that, oh crap, I might have killed this guy. She allows herself to die, even though, in the end, that turned out to be completely unfounded. She's a nice character, and just her first trial really just made the game just immediately have you questioning things, so I think she belongs in at least B. Next up, we've got Shuichi, the true, arguably, main character of V3, and, again, just kind of a nice guy. I mean, I kind of like that he's a little more reflective than someone like Makoto, where he realizes, like, you know what? Maybe in this case, hope is just as bad as despair, because it's just going to perpetuate this cycle. There's not really too much I can say about his backstory other than him being just kind of a fanboy who got his wish fulfillment, if it was even real. Ooh, truth and lies. He was an okay main character. I'll put him in B. Kibo, the ultimate robot and the technically last main character of V3. And again, I don't really have too much to say about him. Like, he's nice. He's a robot. He ends up sacrificing himself for the greater good in the end. They kind of have a I know you're in there somewhere kind of moment with him in the last moments of the game. Again, just kind of average. I think he belongs in B. Angie. Okay, this character I think is another one that's not very popular, and I get why. She's kind of an insane cultist type, but I do kind of like some of the shenanigans that she brought to the table, like dividing everyone against each other, and sadly, they didn't really do too much with that because the very obvious killer ended up overriding everything. And I think there's more you could have done with this fanatic who just brainwashes everyone to follow her. I do kind of like her chipper personality belying something a lot darker, and her design is pretty appealing too. I'll put her in C. Oh, poor Gonta. This gentle lamb. Like, he did not deserve an eighth of what he got. What a kind soul. What a gentleman. You just look at this guy and you want to smile. He's just got such a nice face and just a pleasant voice. And then fucking Kokichi. honestly, there's not really that much to him, but sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you just need the nice guy who everyone likes and then crushes everyone when he is used. His reactions to everything are so heartbreaking. As far as the kind character that everyone loves goes, I think he fulfilled this role a lot better than Ibuki did. Just for how good Gonta is, I've gotta put him in A tier. Himiko is going straight into S tier. I love this little girl. Like, she's so clearly like some kind of neurodivergent, whether she's depressed or maybe on the spectrum. You just feel for her. Like, she's doing her best, alright? Like, she's kind, she's quirky, but at the end of the day, she just wants friends in her own unique way. She seems kind of aloof, but she cares about people just as much as anyone, and when she ends up losing two of her closest friends in the same chapter, and she breaks down, you just feel for this poor kid so much. And then she ends up developing into a much more headstrong character, and just bless Himiko. I love her. She belongs in S tier. Speaking of characters who belong in S tier, Kaito. I love this bro. Just, how can you not? Like, I just love his warm, masculine presence. He's happy-go-lucky, he's willing to protect the people that he loves, and just, his death. Just, like, him actually dying before Monokuma really gets the chance to kill him, I thought that was brilliant, and just going to show that, like, everyone's love for Kaito just outwon Monokuma's despair in the end. And you gotta love his design too. The hair is perfect. Kaito belongs in S tier, man. Come on. Kirumi. Okay, this character kinda confused me at first. Again, she's another stoic character who just kind of stayed out of the limelight for the longest time. She just seemed like your stereotypical, well-mannered, calm character. I was legit surprised when she ended up the second culprit, because she just seemed like she didn't have that in her, and then you really get to know who she was and what her personal stakes were, or might have been. I thought her murder scheme was a little weird and convoluted, like her ziplining over a pool and, like, burning her hand, and people are able to tell because of a little bit of debris. It felt like a bit of a stretch to me, but I think all of that is made up for with Kurumi's execution and Kira Buckland's performance especially. Her just being so desperate to get back to the people she's supposed to protect as the supposed Prime Minister of Japan, and just her determination and the shouting and the screaming she does is just primal! Just, wow, what a performance. And then her escaping and just thinking she's almost there when she never had a prayer to begin with is just, ow. What a brutal death scene. I thought the character was just kind of okay, but there was at least stuff that was interesting about her, so I'll put her in C. Kokichi. This little gremlin. Like, again, it's always the characters that have me guessing that I love, because this little shit always towing the line between truth and lies, just getting everyone to question just what that means, him always just being so awful to everyone, and then just when you think you have a moment of sympathy for him, he just shoves that back in your face and says, oh, guess what, that was a lie. And even when he dies and seems to be emotional, you just wonder, like, is that supposed to be true as well? What is your play? The faces he makes, just beautiful nightmare fuel. He's just another one of those characters who you love to hate. You just want to strangle this little motherfucker, especially for the stuff that he did to Gonta. But he's engaging. He has my interest. I gotta put him in S tier for that. Korekiyo. I wanted to like this character so bad, because he's got a cool design. He seemed like just the kind of character who seems like he'd be the killer based off how unnerving he is, but maybe there's more to him. There really wasn't. He is just genuinely a creep. I mean, the whole plot twist of him being from Alabama was sure disturbing. I'll give you that. His execution, though, just talk about literally rubbing salt on the wound. rubbing salt on your ghost. The whole time in Chapter 3, I was just thinking, please don't let him be the killer. It's so obvious that he is. Like, you revealed his lab in this chapter. You've got an obvious murder weapon in his lab. I was so disappointed by that. So just, again, kind of wasted potential, I think. I'm gonna put him in C. Maki. Pretty good character, right? You can immediately tell that there's something up with her with how standoffish and aloof and potentially homicidal she is to everyone, even before she's revealed to be the ultimate assassin. You do kind of see that she cares a lot about people, though. She's got a real heart of gold beneath that real dark exterior. It makes you really want to see her survive after everything that she's gone through, all of her character development. Of course, it might have all been a lie in the end, but I mean, as the game kind of makes clear, it still made for compelling drama, didn't it? For that, I'm gonna put her in A. Miyu, aka the one character who kind of seems like they're lampooning the whole idea of fan service. Like, she's so brazen, but there are times where it kind of crosses over from just being crass into being really mean-spirited and unsettling at times. I don't know, though. She was kind of entertaining, and what a design, am I right? Like, you've pretty much put in every fan service trope in the book. She was also very self-serving, but I don't know. She was memorable to me, at least. I'm gonna put her in B. Rantaro. Who cares? Ryoma. This is another character that I'm so disappointed we didn't get to see more of, because I really liked his personality. This kind of sort of sage-type person who looks weird but is much wiser than they appear, and his backstory, or seeming backstory, was kind of heartbreaking once you learned that, and especially when you learn that he basically worked with Kirumi to do what was best for the masses versus just himself, because he just felt that worthless. You just want to give this poor guy a hug. Screw it, I'm putting him in B tier. I would have liked to have seen more of him. Tenko was a lot of fun. I kind of feel like she was a lot more of what I wanted Mahiru to be. Like, she kind of has a lot of the same hang-ups that Mahiru does, but at the same time, you do see a lot more that kind of humanizes her. You do slowly get to see her warm up to everyone and not just insult them all the time, and you do really see a lot more often that there is kind of a heart of gold there. Also, that one face she makes right at the beginning just had me cackling. I'm gonna put Tenko in B. And lastly, we've got Tsumugi, the true mastermind of V3, and kind of the obvious mastermind. I mean, she spends the whole game going like, "Oh, I'm so ordinary! Look at how ordinary I am!" And she's out of focus the whole game, except for maybe Chapter 1, which in itself is kind of suspicious. She's not terrible. I mean, I really, really like her design. It is so cute. And I think there's a bit of mystery about whether or not she really is the mastermind, or at least maybe she was brainwashed to be the mastermind, kind of like how everyone else was. Who knows? I do think there's a little more to her than just being, like, a less good Junko. So, you know what? I'm gonna put her in C. That does it for this tier list. What did you guys think? Did I put Ibuki mi Oda too low? I don't know. What's your favorite Danganronpa character? You can tell me in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like it from me, you can support my channel by liking this video, clicking the subscribe button, and hitting the bell for more notifications about my next uploads. You can also follow me on my Twitter at AlexRoshanVA. Thanks for watching this video, everyone. Take care.